What's going on, everyone? This is Alex Nickla here, and this is episode 3 of the Alex Nickla Show. I'm here with a good friend of mine, Mr. Zach Plesac. Zach, thanks for coming, man. Appreciate it. For those of you who do not know, Zach is from Crown Point, and he is a professional baseball player in the Cleveland Indians organization. Zach has done some incredible things in his baseball career, and I wanted to share his story with everybody and get a feel for his mindset and how he's been able to accomplish what he has. So yeah, man, you're from Crown Point?
Yeah, I'm from Crown Point, born and raised. My first house, I was living in Hoffman Street. It's actually across the street from the Little League fields. It's kind of how I grew up, living around that area. My dad would take me and my brother Ronnie to the field. You know, that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah. Yeah. What age did you start playing baseball?
From as early as I can remember. I'm going to have to say probably 4 or 5.
Yeah. Because baseball's in your family.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up around the lifestyle of baseball. Mm-hmm. You know, and it all started with my dad. It's in our family, so, you know, we would take trips. We would go see my uncle who was in the big leagues, you know, go play in Chicago. We would go watch him play in Toronto. We'd go watch him play in Arizona. So growing up, you know, I was kind of brought into that atmosphere, that culture, you know, and my dad did a great job raising me and my brother the right way, you know, making sure that we understand, you know, the struggles that come with baseball and sports in general, but you know, just going to the Little League fields, playing catch in the backyard, and just being with each other. Yeah.
When was it that, because you guys started at 4,
yeah.
So when was it that, I mean, when did you start to love the game? Do you remember right away?
Yeah, I always loved it. You know, my best friends came from playing baseball together, you know, all the way back in Little League, just the guys that I'd met,
us,
you know,
man,
exactly.
9 years old was when we met.
Right, you know, and it's one of those things that you just build relationships and you just are having fun. It's that time of your life when there's no responsibility. You can just go and have fun, and you know, that was the best part, and I think I just fell in love with that part of it.
So when you started, how much, because I remember being kids, man, it was like baseball was everything. So from when you started, when did you start to, you know, kind of excel? Like what age were you when you started to kind of stand out?
I think it started in Little League just with like all-stars. You know, they came out with all-star teams, and you know, just being a part of that group was when I was finally starting to understand that I was a little more advanced, but I was still, you know, I didn't really understand the significance yet, I think, until about high school, you know, and then after Little League, you know, I was playing in all-stars, and then 13 to 14, I kind of had like a, you know, I was playing with the older kids, so I kind of had like a down period time of my life, skill-wise. You know, I just wasn't competing enough that I thought I could be, you know, to be able to play with those guys. But when I got to high school as a freshman, and our varsity team was really good. They were ranked, you know, they were in ESPN Rise magazine, and you know, just starting off freshman year playing JV with yourself and my brother. And just kind of growing from there, you know, it wasn't really, in my point of view, that I was better than everyone else. You know, it was one of those things. I just had a lot of fun. I worked really hard and was trying to be the best I could be. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And going into high school, man, I mean, you and me had the privilege of being, you and Ron had the privilege of being one of the couple guys that were JV guys, and then also we had the opportunity to kind of get the culture of the varsity team at that time. That varsity team was amazing. So learning from those guys helped a lot, and being able to work with Coach Strayer and those guys. But in high school, when was it that, because man, I remember, you know, freshman year, going into sophomore year, when did it click for you in your head that, you know, you had the opportunity to be, you know, something great? I think what made it seem realistic was actually my brother. He was the first one to get a college letter. He was a freshman, was getting varsity time. Michigan University called him, invited him to the hockey game against Michigan State, and you know, I was not jealous, but I was like, dang, I envied that. You know, I wanted to be that.
And so, that's fuel.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
100%. Well, I was seeing your success and Ron's success, and it fueled me.
Yeah,
it was.
So, it's all healthy, you know. And people ask all the time, like, you know, having a twin brother who, you know, is very good as well, you know, is if the competition was healthy or if there was a rivalry, you know, and it goes way back from Little League, it was always healthy. We were always rooting for each other. And my first college offer came from Valparaiso University. It was my sophomore season after we just won the regional in LaPorte. And that's when I was like, wow, you know, like, this is really happening. And I was only a sophomore, and so that fueled me going into that summer, you know, to work extra hard to try to get, you know, as many offers as I could, try to land the schools that I wanted to go play at, and you know, that's just kind of how I rode it.
So talk about from freshman to sophomore year, because that was a big time that was a big transition for you and who you were, within your career. You went from, there's a lot of young kids out there who want to be that freshman, sophomore playing at the varsity level, like you had the opportunity to do. So what was it from freshman to, there's a big difference from freshman to sophomore year.
Yeah.
What was it that separated you at that point that made you, so much better?
I think, first off, watching the varsity team succeed, and seeing how good those guys were.
That was huge for us.
It was huge, and those guys were great leaders, so they were the ones pushing too. So it was a super great environment to be in. My freshman year, I really wanted to play varsity just because everyone wants to play varsity. So, when I wasn't on the varsity roster for the whole season, that motivated me to really get in the gym. So I was meeting up with Coach Garrett before school, and we would get in a workout, and then I would have P-Fit, personal fitness, that they started to introduce into your daily schedule, I think my sophomore year. And, so it would be early morning workouts 3 days a week with Coach Garrett, and then I would go to P-Fit later in the day. So I really just didn't want to cut myself short. It was kind of like I was willing to put in the extra work. I had the time, so it just came down to me making the time and going to do it.
For high school athletes, man, I think about this all the time, because I would say if I had a regret in my life, it would be not putting more time in, right? Because, dude, when you're that age, like, there's no reason not to put that extra time in. Right. But we were, at that point, and being in basketball and football for you, but we would also come in and take cuts in the morning. I remember we'd come in the mornings at 5 a.m. And then we'd hit Coach Garrett's, and then we'd have P-Fit in the day, and then we had baseball from
4 to 6,
right? But basketball too, and it's like we had so much. But after that, we would stay and take grounders,
right?
And it was all you always be like, hey man, you want to stay and take some extra? Yeah, hell yeah, we did. And then we'd go back to your house, and it was just like our life. Right. But I wish that that was the difference, man, is putting in that extra time and that work.
That's what it comes down to, and especially growing into my career, I had to learn the difference between putting in extra work and putting in the smart amount of work. Because sometimes I would, put in so much work, and I thought I had to do so much, work out this many times, throw this much, and then there's that point where it's healthy for you, and there's a point where it's probably not as safe if you're trying to create longevity in your career. So I really had to learn, especially after college, what I had to do to make sure that I was maintaining strength and could play the whole season. So high school was just a great time for me to really get bigger and stronger when I wasn't, quite there yet. I got to college, was, exposed to a little more talent, I guess you could say, and then, then pro ball now. Right.
Well, what made you choose, so going from high school to Ball State, what made you choose Ball State?
There's a lot of things going on at Ball State around the time when I was about to commit. They were bringing in a whole new class. They were creating a new stadium. The coach came from Michigan University, so it was his second season at Ball State. Great track record. Financially, it was the right fit for me, and it was close enough to home that if I wanted to come home on the weekend, I could. So it kind of just seemed to fit. I can't say that Ball State was the #1 school I was looking to go to, but it kind of seemed like fate played itself, and it had its own role in my life, and it fell into the places it was supposed to, and then, that's where I ended up.
And once you got there, did you notice a difference in the level of competition right away, or did it take some time?
Yeah, I think when I realized that was from the seniors that were there, because there was a senior class, and those dudes there were like 22, 23, and I'm coming in at 18, so I'm like, wow, I'm the young bull now, I'm coming from being a senior in high school, being the top dog, and then you get to college as a freshman, you're like, all right, it's kind of like the script flips, so you really got to learn your role, you got to learn your place, and sometimes if you're not going to play, you got to respect your role. That's a part of being on a team. You have to just be the best at your role that you can. So I just tried going in with that mindset. Into college, I ended up being the closer for them.
How'd you get to that position? Like, how'd you get there?
Well, it was started off in the fall. I think they just were doing, bringing guys in, trying them out, pitching in scrimmages, and they thought I was ready enough as a freshman to compete, on the Division I level.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And did you have like an opportunity or two, or was it just a combined series of events, or was there a time where you just like proved yourself and coach gave you a shot?
There was actually. In the fall, this is my first time ever pitching for Ball State, technically. It was a scrimmage. It was against the same team. We had the freshman class that we just brought in, the whole new freshman class, like 10 guys, against all the seniors and the juniors who were, you know, getting ready to leave. So they put us up against those guys to see how we competed, you know. And I won't ever forget my first outing ever. They brought me in the close with 1 out in the 9th. So we had a 9-inning scrimmage. I come in, we're up 1. It's the bottom of the 9th. First dude gets out on a walk. Next dude gets out on a walk. Next dude gets a little bloop that, like, guys didn't advance the base. They were kind of tagging, but so it drops. Bases loaded. A guy flies out, and the next dude comes up, hits a double, and we lose. So I took the loss for my first ever non-regular schedule, but you know, it was in the scrimmage, and I was super upset. You know, I'm like, wow, I just lost us the game. Basically, I walked guys on base and then gave up a hit. So, you know, at that point, you know, it was like I got some work to do. So we went through the off season, got after it, and then there was a game against UNC Wilmington down on like a spring trip, you know, and we matched up against them, and it was the 8th inning, and coach called my name. I wasn't even warm. It was probably 40 degrees outside, and ended up coming in, and I got the save, and then he just kept putting me in there, and then that's kind of, I got that one opportunity, you know, and then thankfully made the most of it. But you know, I just took that opportunity and ran.
When was it at Ball State that you started to become, like, you know, an everyday guy? Was it your freshman year, or was it your sophomore year?
It was my freshman year. I was the closer. Okay. You know, so that was when I became everyday, you know, as a pitcher would say.
When did you start getting looks from the majors? At what point?
So I think it was my freshman year. After my freshman season, I was named National Freshman Pitcher of the Year in collegiate baseball, and which was an unbelievable honor, you know, to have that. So I got invited to go play in the Carolina Summer League, and my coach said it probably wasn't a good idea just because of how many innings I threw, trying to keep me healthy, keep me safe for the next season. And I remember I had scouts, good friend of mine, Wax now, he's actually with the Chicago White Sox. He, you know, sent me a text, former Ball State Cardinal, and he just said, you know, keep working hard, you have a bright future. You know, and it was one of those where after I received that award and got a text, you know, it's kind of becoming more realistic. And moving into my sophomore season, you know, a little more exposure. I noticed, you know, some scouts at games. Before the game, my bullpen, they'd be standing there with cameras, radar guns. And then after my sophomore season, I went to the Cape Cod League. And that's where it's complete exposure, you know. So I'm playing with some of the best guys in the country, matching up against, you know, some of the best. So that's when I kind of knew, like, where I was talent-wise and where I could take my talent to. And then after that season, I suffered an injury. Yeah,
that was after your sophomore season.
After my sophomore season. This was junior season. This happened. Yeah.
And so, so you had to get surgery, right?
Yeah, I did. So this was my junior year. We're 2 months out of the draft. You know, there's talks going about when I'm going to go, who's going to pick me. I'm getting phone calls, you know, what's my number, you know, like, what do I want, all this stuff, and all the hype's buzzing, you know. I got scouts coming to games, they got cameras, they got, you know, radar guns. There's a lot more scouts there now than there were the year before. So, you know, it's kind of, the buzz is happening. So, you know, the first beginning of the season was going okay, and then first conference game, it was kind of matchups. Who's going to be the pitcher of the year? Me and Eric Lauer, a lefty out of Kent State. And that was kind of the buzz, you know. And the first conference game of the year, he pitched the first game the day before we played. He went like 8 innings, you know, 3 hits, 1 run, got the win. And so then I pitched the next day. It's like I went a complete game. I shut out Miami of Ohio. I'm like, this is it. We're going. You know, we're taking off. This is gonna be insane. And then the next morning after that start, I woke up and something didn't feel right. You know, it's just a different soreness. I went to the field, tried to get my throwing in, couldn't throw the ball really 70, 80 feet, and this never happened to me before like that. Yeah. So that's when I knew, like, something was a little off. And then moving forward, tried to just prevent, do some rehabilitation, some stretching, couple exercises before every game just to make sure I'm ready. The next 2 starts, I only lasted 2 innings until it started hurting again. And I remember the last the last play I made was against Bowling Green at home. It was cut the ribbon game. So we were celebrating the new stadium. Place is packed. Yeah. They got a ribbon for the game ceremony. They cut it. You know, the president of the university's there. First inning, it went okay. You know, I got 3 outs. No one scored. Second inning was 2 outs. Got in second, third. And I remember this one pitch I made. I remember I threw it and just felt like it took forever to get there. And I wasn't going to come out of the game because, you know, the significance of it. I had adrenaline. There's so many people there. I'm like, I'm not going to make a scene. And then for the third out of the inning, it was a swinging bunt down the third base line, chopper, and I grabbed it, barehanded it, and threw it as hard as I could. It one-hopped the first baseman. Thank the Lord he picked it. But that's when I was like, you know, something's really wrong. Went and got it checked out. Went to Dr. Kremchek in Cincinnati. Told me that I had a partial tear in my UCL, and at that point, it was kind of like.
And you had to get Tommy John.
Yeah, Tommy John surgery.
From before you had your injury, like, where were you projected to be drafted? Because this is very important. Yeah. You were projected to be where, and then you ended up where?
They projected me to go the first 3 rounds. I was a top 50 prospect in the draft, which could have been the first 2 rounds of the draft, you know, and
which is a life-changing situation.
You know, so I ended up getting hurt, and thankfully I got the surgery. It went well. Indians drafted me in the 12th round, and went straight to rehab. So I flew to Arizona, went to the spring training facility, rehab for 1.5 years. I had 1 year left of school.
1.5 years of rehab?
Yeah, 1.5 years. It was 16 or 18 months. I think it was 18 months. So, you know, I didn't play that season.
Without playing any baseball?
Zero.
Just
zero.
rehab.
I started throwing 5 months out, playing catch. And for those first 5 months was mentally exhausting. You know, that whole rehab process is mentally, it's a grind, and you have to be prepared, and you have to be diligent, and you have to just stay consistent with yourself and with the things that you're doing just to make sure that you come back healthy. So, you know, went straight to rehab. This was in June of 2016. Rehab the whole off season. I got myself a apartment by myself because I wanted to finish school, and I didn't want to have to worry about roommates, and I didn't want to have to worry about bad connection on Wi-Fi. So what I did was, you know, I spent some money. I had to, one of those things, and we got my own place, finished school. I graduated in December of 17, and then that was after I got to play and come back into games. So I rehabbed that whole year, came back 17, went through spring training, went through extended spring training, and then they let me go and break for short season. Ended the season in low A, finished my school that fall, graduated, came back in 2018, which was this year. You know, broke camp with Lynchburg Hillcats, it's high A affiliate, and you know, I got a taste of Double A in the beginning of the season. Some guys were hurt. They sent me back after 3 starts, and then at the end of the season, they called me back up, you know, to stay. So it's been a good experience.
But one of the things, we talked about this just recently, but one of the things that is the reason that you are where you are and who you are is situations exactly like this. You go from being one of, I mean, you're talking life-changing signing bonuses and life-changing income in the top 3 rounds to hurting yourself and still getting drafted, but now you have to go through 1.5 years of, but the average person looks at that as like, you know, right? Boo-hoo to me, and they take that and they use that as an excuse. Well, I got injured. Right. But to you, it's a challenge, and that's how it's always been. You've always been that way. You love that, and you take that, and it's going to be even cooler when you get to where you want to be. So from now, how's your arm feel now?
Feels incredible. Yeah, I have to credit the Cleveland Indians with their rehab program. They were super cautious, super diligent, you know, held me accountable. I was watched over like a hawk in a good way. You know, they were just making sure that if I felt any discomfort or if I was feeling uncomfortable, you know, that I would take the precautions. And so they eased me into pro ball through rehab, and it kind of allowed me to transition into pro ball a little more easier, I think. You know, just being able to be around the staff more and, you know, understand the process. And going through rehab, I got to meet some guys, and yeah, it was good. So at this point, I mean, you just finished this. Well, a few months ago, we finished the season, right? And
how did the year? You didn't pitch the whole year, right? Or the whole year?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And how'd it go?
They went really well. I think the first half of the season was okay. You know, I wasn't too happy with how things were going, and after the All-Star break, it just started kind of taking off a little bit. Like my arms started feeling good. My average velocity went up a couple ticks. I think I just freed myself up, really. You know, I was trying so hard to be the guy that they wanted me to be, you know, and it was like when I realized that that's not what's going to get me to where I want to be, it freed everything up for me. So after the All-Star break, I said, I'm just going to go out there, have fun, I'm going to play, you know, I'm not going to worry about mechanics, not going to worry about results, I'm just going to go out there and play and be myself. And that's what
got you here in the first place.
Yeah, that's true. You know, and that's what I think why I wasn't getting the results I wanted. So once I started doing that, I just noticed the progression of where my season was going. So it went from just an okay season to a good season, you know, and so there's, you know, a chance this year, you know, I don't know where I can break, but it's gonna be a battle.
Well, and you got the opportunity now you played a little bit of AA, but now you're going to be in AA, right? Starting next year.
Yeah.
Yep, and you're sitting 96, 97 miles an hour, topping at 98. I mean, it's amazing, man.
Yeah.
So what from this point, like, what's your goal? Like,
my goal?
Ultimate? Like, how about what's your goal by the end of 2019? But what's your long-term goal? Like, what do you see for your career?
I see myself as an established big leaguer. I want to be a franchise starter. And, you know, and it's one of those things too. I have that goal for myself, but in terms of business, they might not need a starter. You know, they could need a reliever or in any type of role. So I just want to be an established big leaguer, you know, with experience and with the knowledge and with enough talent, you know, so that when I'm in the big leagues, I can use that platform a way to, you know, help expand, you know, who I am, what I care about, and, you know, send messages to other people who are trying to be that and who, you know, are working to get to that situation, who might not have had, you know, the luxury of going to a big Division I school or, you know, getting drafted out of high school. You know, I want to be able to play in the big leagues and, you know, establish a career, you know, make an all-star team, make the all-star game. You know, it can go on. I want to be a Hall of Famer. You know, I look at it so much larger than just make it to the big leagues. You know, that's not a goal for me to make it to the big leagues. It's more of I want to be a consistent everyday big leaguer, contributing, helping our team win. You know, so it kind of goes a little deeper, but whether or not that's this year, whether or not that's next year, it's going to depend on, you know, when the Indians, you know, when they feel the time is right, you know. So it's out of my control. All I can do is control what I can, be in the gym, take care of my body, you know, line up my shoulders correctly so I'm in the right positions, you know, making sure my mechanics are efficient. You know, there's a lot that goes to it, and you know, my goal right now for this off season is just get better in certain areas that I'm deficient in, you know, and go into camp and show them that I'm ready to play.
What do you, we'll finish up, what do you contribute your success to, like mindset-wise? What has gotten you to this point, man?
I think the fact that, you know, that I've never really have been given the easy road. You know, I've always been super competitive. I've always never wanted to finish last. I think it goes all the way back to just having a brother to push me with him, you know, like just starting from day one, just sharing that love of the game with someone, it motivated me. And then, you know, just never having an easy road, always having to find my way through the, you know, the tribulations and all like the tough things that come with being an athlete. You know, I think that in itself motivates me. You know, I go to a pitching coach, Mark Sheehan, over in Naperville, and it's crazy to see because I thought I was in a good spot now. You know, I'm like, I'm feeling good, my body's good, I'm in good positions, my arm feels healthy. And he took some video of me and threw it up on the TV, and then he broke it down. I'm like, dang, like, I suck right now. You know, I got a lot to work on right now. So that in itself, seeing those things motivates me, like, that there's so much more room for growth, you know. And I'm always one, you know, just to kind of, you know, stay in my own lane in a sense, but, you know, just try to be the best that I can be, you know. So
yeah, what's the mindset? Do you think what's the mindset that you have or that someone has to have to achieve this level of success? What do you think?
I think they just have to be confident in themselves. They have to be willing to put in all the work. You know, they have to be willing to accept failure. You know, a lot of people, it's hard for them to accept failure. You know, it's a lot of times pointing fingers, or you know, I'm already good enough. You know, at this spot, it's always, you know, you're never good enough ever. You know, it's always like there's something you can work on. Yeah. Always, there's always going to be one thing you can do that's a little better than the other thing. So the other thing needs more work. So it's like you're never good enough. You know, I think the mindset you really need to have is just being confident in yourself and finding a way to coach yourself and just being able to be motivated.
And to cut you off, we talked about this the other day again, was the one thing, I bring it up all the time, and the one thing when I talk to people is, you've always naturally believed in yourself. A lot of people have to work on it, and I'm sure there's times where you're like, you know, shit, this happened, and everybody has that. But I always use you as an example, because in anything, we could be outside and there's a frisbee and someone's like, I bet you can't throw it that far, and you're like, watch me. Yeah. But you do that for everything. That's I've never seen you in disbelief in yourself. And if you have been, you snap out of it. And belief is key to everything. Because if you don't believe that you can do something, why would you ever try? Why would you ever put in that extra work that you're talking about and try to make that one thing that needs to change to get better if you don't have that belief? My opinion has always been that has been the key to your success. Is you've always just believed in you.
Yeah.
Like in everything.
Absolutely.
The little things. Doesn't matter what it is.
I think that really comes from just, you know, especially for athletes. I'm speaking on behalf of athletes, and you know, it goes with business too. If you're putting in the work, you're spending the hours, you're spending the time, you know, you're really trying, like truly, you know, deep down, like I'm putting in the work. That in itself should build confidence, you know. And a lot of times people lose confidence on failure, but the most important time to build confidence, in my opinion, is through failure. You're like, look, like I'm not good, now let's get better. And you know, and then you see progress after failure. You know, you take that failure and then that's a goal, right? And so then you go through however much time you need to go through, put in the work, put in the time, and then you see yourself achieve that. And then that should be the greatest feeling ever, you know. And setting realistic goals, you know. There's unrealistic goals that are appealing, but you got to start, you know, with the realistic goals. And then when you open it up, after you've already reached these goals that you know you can, the spectrum is basically...
those little wins build the belief that you're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, if the only time that I ever saw, you know, you maybe in any disbelief was early in high school, but then it was the work that put you into that mindset that you could do it and have that belief. And, you know, and you're talking about failure. We talk about this all the time, but failing and lose, like dude, me and you were the same. If we lost, we cried until we were like 20 years old. Like, I mean, there's still times where I could get so angry from losing, but I always talk about how I love losing because that failure, like you were talking about, is what causes you to leave and go home at 11 p.m. at night and, you know, hit the bands or stretch or work on dribbling drills or get shots up at 11 or midnight because you're so pissed off that you just lost. You know, so it's using that failure, and I think, you know, you're doing that now. Using the failure of going through a surgery to use that to fuel your success.
You know, it's been quite the ride. I think, you know, just coming back from Tommy John, you know, there's always going to be setbacks in your life, you know, and those are the times that are the most important. You can either take it one way or you can take it the other way, and you have to choose, you know, to advance yourself from that circumstance.
Last question. What advice would you give, whether it's, you know, to young kids who are trying to get to the level of success that you're at, whether they're 8 or 9 years old or they're 18 or, you know, not just in baseball, all sports. What advice would you give to them to get to the level that you're at?
I would say just to be proactive, honestly, with everything that they're doing. It starts with the classroom. You have to be eligible to play. You know, be proactive, do your homework. Then it comes to your sport. Be proactive, get in the gym, do extra throwing, talk to your coach, ask him what you need to work on, you know. And then if you want to go play college ball, be proactive, reach out to a college coach. Maybe you go out to a camp. You know, you can't sit back and expect things to come to you, is basically what it comes down to. For me, I think, you know, being proactive is the most important thing and is going to get you to where you want to get to.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. That's awesome. Thank you. Well, thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to leave a comment in the actual video, you can ask questions. You can reach out to Zach, and we'll put his Instagram link on this. You guys can reach out to him and follow his journey. But thank you guys for watching. My name is Nickla with Realty Executives here in Crown Point. Thank you.